Hey guys, welcome to another video. My name is Ian, I'm Ian the Reader, and today I am back with my September Book of the Month prediction box video. So if you're new to the series or new to the channel, every single month I talk about Book of the Month, which is an amazing, top-notch, and super affordable book subscription box. How Book of the Month works is every single month the Book of the Month team picks 5 to 7 books as their main picks. You as a subscriber get to pick one of those books to be your main pick, and then you can also pick up to 2 add-on books to go in your box as well. I believe that each individual credit or book, your monthly fee is like $15.99 or around there, but every book that you add after that is only $10. So you get brand new hardback books for a super affordable price. It is amazing, and the Book of the Month team picks some fantastic books every single month from all sorts of genres, whether it's mystery and thriller, historical fiction, fantasy and science fiction, contemporary. They do it all. They really do. Every single month, I get so excited to talk to you guys about what books I think or hope will be in the next month's Book of the Month selection, and that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about today, are the books that I think have a good chance of being Book of the Month's September picks. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, I struggled a little bit this month to find books that I think could be in the September box. Not because there aren't a lot of great books coming out, but because a lot of the amazing books that are coming out are sequels or final books in series, and Book of the Month doesn't really do that as often. Sometimes if they featured that series before with the first book, they'll feature the sequel as an add-on, but I don't think that they would just come out of nowhere and feature the last book in a series necessarily. So I am excited about a lot of other new releases, but in this video, I'm just going to be talking about the books that I think could be in the Book of the Month selections for September. A few things before I jump in. First, it would mean the world to me if you would like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I post videos 2 times a week, and I'm super excited to be getting some awesome new content out to you guys over the next few weeks, so keep an eye out for that. And then the other thing that I did want to talk about before we jumped in is just the order of this video. So to start off with, I'm going to mention a few books that I had featured in my August predictions, but I think now could be featured in September instead. And then after that, we're going to go genre by genre, and there will be chapters for this video so you can skip around to whichever genres you as a reader are interested in. I will also be doing just a very brief description of each of these books from the Goodreads page, but I will also be leaving the links to the Goodreads page for each of these books down below so you can check them out in full if they do seem like they could be a book that you're interested in. Without further ado, let's jump into the books. So like I said, I did want to just briefly touch on a few books that I had featured last month, but I think could have a good chance of being featured in the September box since they weren't featured in the August box. So the first of those is Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've already talked about this book a little bit in the last predictions video, but this is a historical fiction book. Taylor Jenkins Reid is one of the most buzzy authors out there, and for good reason. She's an amazing writer, and I'm really excited to read this book personally. It was not featured in August, which I was not surprised by, not just because this is a very popular read, because they have featured her books numerous times, so I really do think that this could be a Book of the Month pick, but the release date for this is August 30th, so I was really not sure that they would put it in the August box, since that would be a pretty significant early release. That being said, with it coming out right at the end of August, I think it definitely could be a September pick. Another one that I featured last month that I think has a shot of being featured in September is Other Birds by Sarah Addison Allen. This sounds like a really powerful and moving magical realism, contemporary fiction type of book. It's been getting amazing reviews, and I keep seeing it everywhere. It really does seem like a Book of the Month type of book. That being said, it was not featured in August, but the release date again for this one is August 30th, so I do think it stands a good chance of being featured in September. And then the last one from last month's predictions that I'm going to carry over into September is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. This author is super buzzy with her book Love Hypothesis just blowing up all over TikTok and freaking everywhere, so I again didn't think that there was a good chance it would be an early release. That being said, it does come out August 23rd, so I think that there is a good chance that they could feature it in the Book of the Month box for September. One more thing before we jump into the other books though is I normally feature 3 books per genre. That being said, just because like I said, a lot of the books that I think are really exciting or interesting are sequels this year, or not this year, this month, I'm going to go ahead and just feature 2 books per genre instead of my normal 3. Okay, so let's jump into the mystery thriller books that I think could be Book of the Month selections for the month of September. This genre in particular was kind of challenging to narrow down, or not even narrow down, but just find books that I really thought could be a good fit for Book of the Month, just because last month they featured so many huge releases. And so I did find some, but I'm not sure of any of them. Let's talk about them real quick. So first up, we have Back to the Garden by Lori R. King. So this is a book that I had not heard of before doing some research for this video. That being said, it does sound pretty interesting. Here's the short description from Goodreads. A 50-year-old cold case involving California royalty comes back to life with potentially fatal consequences in this gripping standalone novel from the New York Times bestselling author of Mary Russell and Sherlock Holmes series. Like I said, I hadn't heard of it before, but that does sound interesting. I always love a good book with like a cold case in it or some like old mystery that's kind of coming back into light because of either new evidence or characters who were involved in it or things like that. I always just love that mystery thriller trope. This also has been getting some really great reviews. Currently, it has a 4.27 on Goodreads, and this book does release on September 6th, so I think it really does have a good shot of being in the September box. And then the other book that I did want to talk about is one that has been getting quite a bit of buzz. It is actually already out, so if you're interested in this book, you can totally go pick it up. But that book is All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers. I've seen this cover around a lot, and this book has definitely piqued my interest. The short description from Goodreads says, in the propulsive debut novel from the host of the #1 true crime podcast, Crime Junkie, a journalist uncovers her hometown's dark secrets when she becomes obsessed with the unsolved murder of her childhood neighbor and the disappearance of another girl 20 years later. So we do have, again, the cold case type of thing going on in this mystery thriller book. That being said, I do really like that our main character has some personal ties to the mystery going on here, so it definitely seems like it could be a lot of fun. Currently, this has a 4.09 on Goodreads, and like I said, it is already out. I totally forgot to do page numbers. Sorry about that, guys. Back to the Garden is 336 pages, while All Good People Here is 320 pages. So both of them have great lengths for Book of the Month as well, since they typically like to stick around 250 to 350 pages with a few outliers on both ends of that. Okay, so now that we've talked about mystery thriller, let's go ahead and jump into historical fiction. So there are some books, one in particular. There's one book that I really am so excited about. I don't think it'll be featured just because this is a really buzzy author and they've never been featured before, so I don't think it'll happen, but I'd be really happy if it did. So the book that I'm talking about is The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. I read Maggie O'Farrell's most recent novel before this, Hamnet, a few months ago, and I loved it so much, you guys. It is an amazing work of historical fiction, incredibly emotional and powerful, and just, it's beautifully written as well, so I highly recommend that book. But this is her new novel, The Marriage Portrait. So here is the short description from Goodreads. From the author of the breakout New York Times bestseller Hamnet, winner of the National Book Critics Circle Award, an electrifying new novel set in Renaissance Italy and centering on the captivating young Duchess Lucrezia de Medici. Maybe I said that right. Yeah, so this book has been getting a lot of buzz, like I said, and I'm definitely going to read it just because I was so impressed by Hamnet. I want to see what she follows it up with. This currently has a 4.15 on Goodreads with 152 ratings. Release date for this is September 6th, and it comes in at 352 pages. Like I said, I'm really excited for this one. I don't think it'll be featured necessarily, but I'm going to read it either way. And then the next one is a historical fiction book that came onto my radar during my research, and I think this one has a really good shot at being featured. That book is The Attic Child by Lola J. This sounds really intense, or maybe not intense, but like emotionally intense at the very least. So here's the short description from Goodreads. A hauntingly powerful and emotionally charged novel about family secrets, love and loss, identity and belonging. Two children trapped in the same attic, almost a century apart, bound by a shared secret. So this, like I said, sounds really powerful and very emotional. On top of that, it is historical fiction with two different timelines. The first timeline is set in the early 1900s in London, and then the second timeline is set in 1974. So we have two different historical fiction timelines, which I always think is a lot of fun. And like I said, this just sounds very powerful and emotional, and I am very eager to read it. The Attic Child currently has a 4.51 on Goodreads, which is a fantastic score for sure, so I'm definitely hyped about picking this book up. It is a bit on the long side. It comes in at 480 pages, but like I said, they do occasionally feature 400 plus page books, and it's not quite at 500, so I do still think that there is a good shot of it. And on top of that, it just seems to have a lot of themes that I think Book of the Month likes to feature, which I think is fantastic. So I'm definitely going to be reading this when it comes out, regardless of whether or not it's featured. It does come out on September 6th, though, so we'll see. So next, we're going to go ahead and jump into the fantasy and science fiction genre. So this one as well, I kind of struggled to find some. Part of me wanted to feature Fairy Tale by Stephen King. The new King novel is a fantasy book, so I did want to feature it, but at the same time, I don't see Stephen King being featured by Book of the Month. Surely they would have done it by now if they were going to, so not going to happen. Let's go ahead and talk about some other exciting books, though. So first we have Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. So this author has been quite buzzy for a while. I think she typically writes YA novels, or at least she's written a lot of YA novels in the past. That being said, I do know that this is an adult novel, and let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what it is about. So the quote at the top says, "Lush with secrets, magic, and past that won't stay where it belongs. This novel is quite fittingly spellbinding," and that's a quote from Jodi Picoult, who's a very popular author. It says, "From New York Times bestselling author Adrienne Young comes a deeply atmospheric story about ancestral magic, an unsolved murder, and a second chance at true love. I mean, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? I mean, you got the love, you got the magic, you got the murder. What else could you want in a book? I'm here for it. It has some great ratings so far as well, coming in at a 4.26 with 962 ratings. It comes in at 352 pages as well, and the release date for this is September 27th, so it would be quite a bit early. That being said, I do think it has a good shot of being featured either in September or possibly in October. Next up for fantasy, we have another very exciting book that I actually already have a digital e-arc of, and I've been meaning to read for a long time, and the more I hear about this book and the more I see reviews of it, the more excited I get. That book is Thistlefoot by Jenna Rose Nethercott. I hope I said that correctly. This currently is a 4.56 on Goodreads as well, so I think that's the highest Goodreads rating we've seen, but not by a lot, but still, that is an incredible score. The short description for this one on Goodreads says, in the tradition of modern fairy tales like American Gods and Spinning Silver comes a sweeping, epic, rich in Eastern European folklore, a debut novel about the ancestral hauntings that stalk us and the uncanny power of story. So I'm not going to go too deeply into what this book is about, but I will say it sounds very strange, and I am here for it. It sounds just like a really fun and magical time, and I'm so excited to read this. Like I said, it's been sitting on my Kindle shelf for a little while, just waiting for me, and I think it's time. I think it is definitely time. But this sounds amazing. Like I said, it currently has a 4.56. This one also has a little bit of a longer page count at 448 pages. That being said, it could definitely be featured. The release date for this one is September 13th. I'm excited about it. I hope you are too, because it sounds like a lot of fun. All right, so moving right along, let's go ahead and jump into contemporary or literary fiction. So the two books that I've chosen to feature today are books that I'm very excited to read. So the first book that I wanted to talk to you guys about is All That's Left Unsaid by Tracy Lian. Short description for this one on Goodreads says, for fans of Everything I Never Told You and The Mothers, a deeply moving and unflinching debut following a young Vietnamese Australian woman who returns home to her family in the wake of her brother's shocking murder, determined to discover what happened, a dramatic exploration of the intricate bonds and obligations of friendship, family, and community. Guys, would you believe that whole thing I just said was one sentence? That was a very long sentence, but a very compelling one at that. So you've got a lot of family ties here. You've got some different experiences in that you have the young Vietnamese Australian woman as the main character, and it focuses on her family. There's also the emotional aspect of her brother having been murdered. This just sounds like a shoo-in for Book of the Month, and I'm here for it. So yeah, this currently has a 4.04 on Goodreads, which is pretty dang good. It comes in at 304 pages, and the release date for this is September 13th. So I'm really excited about this one. This is one that I had not heard about before doing my research, but it is definitely on my radar now that I have found out about it. I also do like that this book is compared to Everything I Never Told You and The Mothers, those books being by Celeste Ng and Britt Bennett, I believe. Both of those authors have been featured by Book of the Month before, and they are both incredibly popular and for a good reason, so I could definitely see this being a hit for Book of the Month. And the second book that I wanted to talk to you guys about for the contemporary genre also has a little bit of magical realism in there, but I did want to talk about it for contemporary fiction. That book is The Fortunes of Jaded Women by Carolyn Huyen. I think that's the right way to say the name. So sorry if I messed up again. The short description for this one on Goodreads, though, says, everyone in Orange County's Little Saigon knew that the Duong sisters were cursed. It started with their ancestor Oan, who dared to leave her marriage for true love. So a fearsome Vietnamese witch cursed Oan and her descendants, said that they would never find love or happiness, and the Duong women would give birth to daughters, never sons. It goes from there, but I like that you have kind of this family history aspect of it, as well as kind of modern day as well, and then you have this curse and whether or not it's real or not, all that involved with it. I'm really excited about this book. It currently has a 4.12 on Goodreads, which is pretty dang good. It releases on September 6th, and the page count for this is 272 pages, which is good because a lot of the books that I featured today are pretty long, and I think that this one has a good shot because it is under that 300 page mark, and I do feel like they like to feature a shorter book as well every month. All right, and lastly, let's go ahead and jump into the romance genre. So a lot of the books that I found for this genre while I was doing my research were sequels. That being said, I did find a couple of books that I think could be a good fit. So the first of those is Drunk on Love by Jasmine Guillory. The short description for this one on Goodreads says, Margot Noble needs some relief from the stress of running the family winery with her brother. Enter Luke, sexy, charming, and best of all, in the too small world of Napa, a stranger. The chemistry between the two is undeniable, and Margot is delighted that she lucked into the perfect one-night stand she'll never have to see again. That is until the winery's newest hire, Luke, walks in the next morning. Okay, that's drama. So there you go. Yeah, so it has been getting some reviews. It currently has a 3.76 with 96 ratings. This does come out on September 20th, so it'd be a little bit early, but I could definitely see it being featured. I also just get Book of the Month vibes from this cover, so I will say that. And it does come in at 400 pages. And the last book that I wanted to talk about for the romance genre and for this video of recommendations is The Makeup Test by Jenny L. Howe. So this book is being compared to One to Watch and Beach Read, which were both featured by Book of the Month at some point. So there's that. It says, One to Watch meets Beach Read in this smart, swoony, romantic comedy in which two college exes find themselves battling against each other and their unresolved feelings for a spot in a prestigious literary PhD program. So you've got the romance, you've got the exes probably getting back together or having chemistry or what have you. Then you also have kind of the literary angle, so it's got kind of that Book of the Month vibe as well. I do believe this was also blurbed by the author of, or Allie Hazelwood, the author of The Love Hypothesis. So there are a lot of things going for this book. I could definitely see it being featured. It does currently have a 3.58 on Goodreads, which is not great, but I've definitely seen worse. It comes in at 336 pages, and the release date is September 13th. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what books you guys are excited about and hoping to see in the September Book of the Month box. For me, I would really like it if Carrie Soto was back or Other Birds was featured, but I also would really be excited about Thistlefoot or Spells for Forgetting. There are a lot of really good books that I'm excited about, so we'll see what happens. Thank you again for watching, though, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Enter Luke, sexy, charming, and best of all, in the too small world of Napa, a stranger. Okay, I'm really struggling. I'm so sorry. Okay, oh man.